Okay. Okay, we should be live now.
Okay, so then if I go on there, do you think it's streaming live on, it is streaming live somewhere on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it is now. We're live. Welcome to Drawing Nature In. We are going to be moving this art salon to Tuesday nights, same time, same place. Tuesday nights at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Just so people know, we will also post some material about that, with our new time and everything. Just welcome to Drawing Nature In. We are going to be moving this art salon to Tuesday.
Okay, so
There's a little reverb. Do you hear that?
yeah, it's turn down the YouTube on your computer.
I turned it off.
Hold on.
I'm just going to Facebook now with the link.
I see why.
Huh?
I see. Actually, unmuted my computer. Should be good now?
Yeah, it's good.
Sorry about that reverb there. It's easy to accidentally hit the wrong button when we're doing this. Getting all this live streaming together. We don't have any shadow hosts with us, so we just kind of do the best we can. Just us. So
Heck,
let's
man.
see. Jeff shows up, or if anyone else shows up tonight. If not, we have some great conversation for you all. One second. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, tonight we are going to be talking about mental schisms, and I guess another word for schism would be like polarities, like the different polarities of like maybe worldview or such like that. I'll hold on. Let me just pull up this other document, and I can give you some examples of some schisms and what side of the brain they might be associated with. Well, I'm going to be working on a drawing that has to do with this. I'm going to be working on a painting actually that has to do with this subject of mental schisms. It has some other stuff incorporated into this painting too, but I think this will be a fun one to do at this point in what we're doing here. Joanna looks like she's got a pretty cool piece she's going to be working on.
So this one is, I have the inalienable right to travel, and the sigil is embedded in the stems of the morning glories.
Nice.
And I'm going to be working on that. And this is for the truth show. And just imagining telling some morning glories where they can grow and where they can't grow. How ridiculous that is. But that's revealed in nature, that everything in nature has the inalienable right to migrate and travel wherever it chooses to.
Right.
So I'm going to be doing some paper clay framing of this weird shaped substrate I created. So this is made of cardboard.
I guess I suppose we can do our meditation first then, since. Yeah. Okay.
Do it. Do you want
Before
to
we
do it?
start getting into too much of the meat of the stuff here.
Yeah, let me know if you want me to do it or
Do it if you want.
what did you say?
I said you can do it.
Oh, I can do it. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna just so just sit with your back straight, feet flat on the ground, hands gently in your lap, or you can put your right hand over your heart if you want. And we've been doing the right hand over your heart, which is a good way to connect the heart to the mind.
Doesn't really matter what hand.
Well, it's kind of cramped to hold your left hand over your heart, but whatever you feel like. And then we're just gonna breathe in maybe a count of 6 and out a count of 7, and try to let go of the day. Try to come into the moment. You can do this maybe by using a word that is a power word to you, or you can do it just by following the breath. And then we're just going to sit and do this breathing for a few minutes. Try to just become present in the moment and feel the energy currents flowing through your spine, from the earth up through your spine, up through the different chakras, through your root chakra, and then through the navel up to the solar plexus, to the heart, throat, third eye, crown, and then back down again. So here we go. Just start to come back into the present. And I'm just going to ask the Creator to just inspire us with words of wisdom and good ideas to inform us so that we can be helpful to the rest of the world. Amen. And I got a message that my Zoom link that I posted isn't working, so I have to fix that. Somebody said,
Uh-oh.
Chris Jansen said it didn't work. So let me go in here and try to fix it.
Oopsies. When that happens,
Do it again.
easy for that to happen.
How
Tell you what,
did I give him?
that's an easy mistake to happen.
Hold on. I think it does work though. So oh, it's coming from GMX. That's why. How annoying. All right, let me try something. Am I still on?
You're on.
I'm on. Okay. But all right, I'll try this again. And let me, oh, it's in team chat. Okay. So that's in the team chat. All right. I don't know. Hopefully see if he comes on or whatever. Where am I? Oh, here it is. I just reposted it, so just pay attention if you don't mind and see if he comes back in. Woody.
Yeah.
Okay.
I shouldn't have to let him in.
Oh, really?
No. They should be able to just come in.
All right.
Gotta have it like set up where they have to have me let them in.
Well, maybe I'll send it to him on. It's a bummer that he's not coming in. Oh well. Let's see. Okay, so let's get started, I guess, huh?
So yeah, we're going to be talking about mental schisms. Here, let me go.
So what's a mental schism?
Mental schism. Well, you have the left brain and the right brain that we were talking about last week. and the so the intellectual and the intuition. Cut off a minute. And that.
Oh, Chris is in. You're muted.
See.
Oh, there you are.
Hey,
Hi.
what's up?
Yay! Good to see you.
Yeah,
I inundated you with links, but
I found it. I made it work. I'm still kind of traveling to the spot where I'm going to be able to draw.
okay, cool.
No worries.
You can talk while you're traveling. That's neat, Chris. I'm excited. So we're talking about mental schisms tonight. And Woody is going to tell me what that means because for some reason, I'm having a block about it. I'm having a mental schism about it.
Like right, left brain stuff?
Yeah, right. Like, like the masculine intellect, the feminine intuition. Yeah, left brain, right brain kind of stuff. The intellect can lead us to rigid skepticism, scientism, atheism, solipsism, moral relativism, eugenics, authoritarianism, the social Darwinism.
A lot of those mean the same thing, don't they?
Yeah, they're all on the intellect or the left side of the brain.
I mean, eugenics and social Darwinism are basically the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah. Those are just all examples. Those are all come from the left intellect. Some of them overlap to like solipsism could be on both sides, I guess. Intuition, feminine, can lead to like, naivete, blind belief, religious extremism, solipsism, unworthiness, self-loathing, order following, willing slave. These are all schisms, so you have like authoritarianism, and then you have like a willing slave is like the opposite kind of polarity of that. Or you have could even go over to like worldview schisms. There's no, the everything happened by accident.
Oh, the Big
It's
Bang
kind of
Theory.
like the masculine side, and then the feminine side would be like God controls every event, like determinism.
Fatalism.
Yeah. So those are some examples, but there's many more.
That's helpful, right? That's helpful. And then if you have a balanced brain, then you can have.
Well, then like you'll have truth, and then like in the balanced brain, you understand the deterministic properties of natural law as being a deterministic law, as like gravity is a deterministic law. And then, but then there's also the free will random component. And so, which is important to note that there is that free will component in there. So.
Kind of like a constant process of trying to find the happy medium
For
of
sure.
everything you do, right? And so you like start observing that balance, and when it applies to like actually things we do, kind of interesting. Like I like being a male, but I've noticed that a lot of aspects of male that are like the good aspects are all twisted around in society, you know? It's almost like the opposite in every way
What do
of
you
what it
mean?
means to be a good man, you know? Like in a lot of ways, I think for the modern man, a lot of it is being patient and having tolerance and being able to stay calm in stressful situations. But like the movies which have you believe that the male aspect is like this really aggressive, or I don't know, like you look at all the TV shows, they don't have a very good male at all. They're all liars, you know. But in the movies, they're like people who take revenge, and you know, it's like all the wrong examples of how to be a good male, for instance, right?
Definitely.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way. Yeah, and they're aggressive. Yeah, yeah, meeting difficulty with violence or whatever.
And like the whole honesty thing should be like the most important thing. I mean, I guess that's somewhat like in some of the old cowboy movies and stuff, but it's always kind of twisted in a weird way.
Yeah,
where
no, the movies are all about violence. I mean, I noticed they're
a
all
lot
about
of revenge, right?
Huh?
Like the hero takes revenge, and that's justified because you know someone shot his family or whatever. They put him in the situation where really awful things, and it's okay because
eye for an eye thing,
yeah, you know.
right? No,
That's,
I like those.
that's just
better.
like teaching us. That's like programming for like rationalization of your actions. Because like, oh yeah, maybe your father got killed by someone, right? Which is definitely a wrong, but aren't you falling into the same trap and committing a wrong if you go out for that revenge?
Right, like it's just a really subtle kind of like misaligning people's moral leanings, right? You start thinking one thing's okay, and then it's just like it's broken down in all these subtle ways around us all the time. You try to tell someone like, you know, taxing people is actually stealing, and they don't even get that. You know, it's because like in all these subtle ways are been shifted on what means what and what's okay and what's not.
Right.
So those movies just do it in a subtle way, I think, you know?
For sure. Like you're like, oh, it's a harmless story about this guy, you know, taking revenge of his father's death, but then like it's actually like a subtle way of programming people to desensitize them, and then also to program them to rationalize things like that. Like, oh, someone hurt someone else, so that means I have to step in and hurt them because I'm the authority or whatever that is, you know. Versus like the person who gets hurt, like it was ultimately their responsibility to protect themselves, you know. Like it's tough. Like I could see, you know, as like being a father or something, if something happened to, you know, one of my loved ones or whatever, it would, you know, that would, you always have those vengeful thoughts that creep in.
Well, you know, and it does kind of, it's tricky, you know, in some situations, seeing what would be right and wrong in like in a really extreme case or something. But, you know, the movies, like, it's just imaginary, right? You're making fiction movies. They could be about anything. And we're just really used to movies being about certain subject matters. You know what I mean? They're going to choose these really extreme situations.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it's how rare is it to see a movie that doesn't, I thought about this with like the Disney movies, for instance. Try to think of one that doesn't have like either kidnapping or some kind of extortion or like they're all involving some pretty heinous crimes, even if it's animals doing it. There's very few that can do a storyline without going there, making it super
unless you're watching like the little like cartoons that are pretty, pretty much all movies have that hero's journey in it. And then of course they're always, using kidnappings and all this stuff. Like I noticed watching like movies, like my daughter like doesn't even like to watch movies because they're all too scary, even Disney movies. And like she'll watch like Saturday morning cartoons or whatever all day long just because they're not as scary though. It's like Daniel Tiger or something like that. It's Neighborhood. It's like pretty innocent, although there are some funky things even in some of those too that are even at a subtler level. But
right.
Well, I mean, I'm right-brained mostly, so I've had to do a lot of stuff to awaken my left brain. I mean, I guess I was very fortunate. I was extremely right brain when I first watched Passio's stuff, and that's why I blindly absorbed all of it. But I mean, I did see the natural law, and that's where. But I could feel myself just accepting everything. And then he said that thing about if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. And I knew I was that type. I knew it. And so I thought, well, I'm going to have to start to do things that strengthen my left brain so that I don't end up in this situation. And I also have had a lot of, I lacked extreme amounts of courage. I had to develop. I'm still in the process of doing that. Developing courage, because that's part of that right brain thing, is to just be totally wishy-washy and you can just be pushed over. So
yeah, I can relate to that. Definitely had to, it's easy for me to like feel people's emotions, for instance. Like it took me a long time to realize that that's not something a lot of people do, is like empathize with other people, in a normal thought process. Whereas I would be like more likely doing that than like analyzing what's in the room and how many things there are. And, what's the nearest gas station, like I'll miss super mundane, obvious things that other people are paying attention to because my mind's all on like the philosophy of the situation or something, and I realize that I have to get more like, many times in life I've had to realize I have to get more like grounded and I guess it's a left brain thing where it's kind of like using that logic. I really like logic, and when I engage that, I guess there's certain things I do that require it, like the type of work I've been in. So I think putting yourself to certain activities that you're good at that require a left brain might be a good like exercise or something. You know what I mean?
for sure.
No,
Another activity I think that helps balance your brain out too is, for instance, if you're a dominant right-handed person, if you start writing with your left hand, you'll find things start balancing out a little more. It's interesting how that works. I think it's just because you're like using and you're like challenging that other side of your brain to just by writing. At first it might be pretty difficult and you'll probably be pretty sloppy, but once you practice and practice and practice, eventually you'll be getting closer to as good as writing with your left as your right, or vice versa. And I've done that, I've experienced that, because throughout my life, I've tried to balance, even with my writing and drawing and different things, painting, which, using the left and the right hand. And I don't know, it's weird how it's kind of changed the way I look at things and stuff like that.
So do you
Well-
feel like you can actually draw or write with both, like, ambidextrously from practicing that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you weren't that
Definitely
way before?
No, I had to practice,
That's really cool.
like the first time I did it, I was like pretty sloppy and just really, some of the stuff I couldn't even like really even draw, like certain letters that were more complex, like maybe like a P or like a Q or something like that. Or S's were really difficult at first. Like when I first started using my left hand, like I draw that, like I couldn't, my brain didn't know how to tell my fingers to draw the letter correctly.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
yeah, it took a little while to like figure it out. And I drew them backwards for a little while, just because, I don't know, some about the way I drew with my right hand. If my brain gave my left hand the same information, it would go backwards. So,
Yeah, like when you try to comb your hair in the mirror.
yeah, it's kind of like that, where it's like you think your hand's supposed to be going one way, but it goes the other way.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been using my left hand. I was originally left-handed, but they made me go right-handed, and I've tried to go back, and I still don't do well with it, but I do it to get information. I use my left hand to get information, or if I'm stuck creatively, I'll switch over. But I'm not.
Yeah, I think there's definitely different like times where like the left or the right hand using them can open up certain things like that. And I think it's partly, it helps balance too, because when you're balancing, when you're open to certain things up by using that less dominant hand, then that's actually balancing things, because you're opening these different things up.
Part of what I like about hanging out doing this, and what makes me want to come back and draw with you guys, is that, like, when I get in that zone of drawing, sometimes it does do something like that with my brain. It's a little hard to describe, but I noticed it climbing too. I've had a couple cool opportunities to go rock climbing recently, and that also does a similar thing where it forces my brain to kind of shift gears into sort of a different, I don't know if it's necessarily left right brain, but it's definitely different brain activity, if something was mapping it.
Is that because it's are you like, is it dangerous, or you have to be more calculating in where you put your feet?
Yeah, I think it's not so much the danger. I mean, although like you sense danger, but we're doing it with ropes, so it's very safe. But you're very in the moment. Yeah, you're kind of imagining the danger, because as you're getting higher off the ground, and you really want to hold on, even though you're going to get caught by the rope. Yeah, I think it's just different. It just requires a different intensity of focus, and you're feeling like in a tactile way with your fingers and hands, and the weight of your body and the alignment of your gravity. And that's just a different awareness, I guess. Like dancing, I've noticed I'm trying to learn some dancing, and it's the same kind of thing. It forces me to shut down my logical brain, like A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, what should I do next? And it puts me into this more, the type of my brain that's more connected to the physical, which I guess you could say that's a right brain thing. I don't know. I don't know if it is right or left brain. It's different brain, that's for sure.
Well, it could be actually balanced in the neocortex.
Maybe it is. Yeah, maybe it's more of a balance thing. That's a good
Or
one.
I'm not sure because it is kind of primitive. It's a primitive thing, but I mean, I know what you mean because I've done bouldering, but without ropes, and I come right into the moment, and I'm basically have to, you know, well, I prayed my ass off, but that's what I do. But then it does something else takes over so that I don't fall when I do that. I haven't done it in a long time, but I had this friend I would go hiking with here in Colorado, and he would always go off the trail, and we would always end up in these extreme situations. And it's dust, you know, where you can barely see, and it would definitely engage my brain differently than the superficial brain functions, because I would feel it was dangerous, and I would feel like I better do this right or I'm gonna get in trouble. And we would never know whether we were going to actually get back to the trail. Sometimes it was kind of freaky, but we always did get back to the parking lot eventually.
Yeah, that is fun. I used to do that with some friends too. It was like crazy missions. A lot of stories to tell from those journeys.
But yeah, I think for myself, I had to doing some of this law stuff that I have to do now is extremely left brain, and that's why it's so hard for me, because I'm so used to using my right brain, and I really can't use it for this. So that's why it's like very, very difficult. But yeah, I agree. Like, I'm in the zone right now. Like what I like about talking to you guys while I make art is that I take these risks. I make decisions and take risks that I would not normally take with the artwork. If I was sitting here doing the artwork by myself, I don't know that I would be doing the same things that I'm doing while I talk to you guys, because that part of my brain is occupied with talking, and so then I can let my right brain just do whatever it wants to do. And it takes it takes its own risks, like really, really big risks visually.
It's like a weird balance of being focused and not focused, right? Where you're slightly distracted but focused at the same time. It's kind of weird.
Literally, like, in a way, I wonder about it, because the ancients talk about doing one thing at a time, and I find that doing two things at a time, it really produces the better solution. But I'm sure it has to do with our crazy programming. When I try to do one thing at a time, it doesn't go well. Unless there's music on. If there's music on, that will distract. That will, give my left brain the necessary, or whatever the other brain. I'm not sure. Maybe music is for the right brain. It gives my right brain something else to do. Unless it is some extreme thing like rock climbing, where I have to engage everything. I couldn't, if it was like a life and death thing that challenged my brain that much, I would have to be completely focused on that only. So I don't know.
Maybe it is the combination, because it's like, when think about like an animal, they're going to be naturally kind of balanced because they have to use their instincts, but they also have to use their skill of looking and smelling at the same time.
Maybe it's some about the auditory mixing with the visual too. Like Like if you're talking, then you have an auditory aspect, and then if you're drawing, then there's the visual aspect, and they kind of play off each other. That's why, like, if you're drawing or doing art and listening to music, it still kind of has that. You still have that audio, even though you're not talking necessarily aspect.
True.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like part of the thing I was pointing out where I used to draw during class because I could listen better.
Right.
And sometimes, I'd get in trouble from the teachers for that. And I'm like, that's lame, because if you actually watch while I'm doodling, I listen better and I can say back what you're saying to me. When I try to look at your face, it distracts me and I can't concentrate on what you're saying.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like going back to like that Zen kind of like state you get in, it is similar to like when you're rock climbing or something, because I think part of it's like the concentration. You're concentrating that energy into the rock climbing. Whereas if you're doing art, you're concentrating that energy into doing art. Or like if you're doing yoga, you're concentrating that energy into yoga. And they're all kind of translates into like a meditative kind of Zen-like experience.
Oh, Jeff may join later.
Professional athletes might have the same, that when they call it being in the zone, it might be kind of a similar kind of brainwave state.
Yeah, I got into that writer who wrote that book called Flow. Have you ever heard of that?
I have
I've
not
heard of the book. I haven't read it though.
Yeah, he like got all these studies actually from some famous, but like, just like top level athletes and musicians. And he got them to like journal and stuff and look in the moments of their life and try to figure out like, how do they get in the zone? Basically, how do you get in that flow state? And a lot of the results had to do with basically like the closest thing most people get to the zone is when they're working in one form or another.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is that combination of like focus, but also being lost in what you're doing and enjoying it, right?
Right. It's interesting.
Yeah, the other thing that's interesting is people who maybe in the freedom movement who want to help other people, but they're very one side or the other of the brain, and they think that everybody has the same capability as they do to switch back and forth. I'm noticing this just with the law stuff. Like the people who know the law stuff cannot relate to the right brain people at all. Really?
Yeah, it's like trying to have a conversation with engineers.
Well,
I've known people who are like engineer personalities, and it's frustrating. They constantly want to keep correcting me all the time because I want to say things in sort of a general way, and they want things to be said very specific. And it gets really frustrating. It's like, yeah, that's what I mean, dude. Like, no, let me say it right,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then they want to go off on these long, boring tangents where I'm just like, really, we don't need all that information, do we?
Right, but I mean, we're going to have to help each other, so we have to recognize that we have different points of view and different strengths and stuff like that. Like I literally, going through this PMA process or whatever, if I get caught off guard, I could go into freeze mode, and my brain, my amygdala will not connect with my cortex, and I won't be able to speak. So, but they have no idea about that. Well, I thought it was being recorded the whole time. Why did it just say that? What do you know?
I don't know if there's some sort of a hiccup. Hold on a second.
Siri just wanted to join the conversation because it was getting so good. She's like, "Oh,
Siri. I'm so happy." Siri. Siri must mean something. I don't know. It's got to mean something. But yeah, so it's very interesting. I mean, when we're trying to dissect, a few of us are trying to dissect, how we can help each other, better do this sovereignty thing. And one of the ways is we can't let our egos get the better of us, because if we're really going to help people, we're going to have to be able to help people of all different mental types.
right."
Like the webinar we're about to put on, that June 4th thing, that's going to have all the left brain superstars in it.
Yeah.
But they don't, like, I cannot talk to them at all, hardly. And just tell them, I need help or whatever. They don't care. Like they're totally in their ego. I mean, I'm sure they care, but when it comes down to like taking the time to be patient, patience is not the strong suit of the super left brain person.
It's weird though, because in one way it is, like, because to be that like left brain kind of egg-headed, like know all that computer stuff, you got to be able to sit there and look at little details and lines of writing, and that kind of accounting mind where you could just look at a bunch of numbers all day and never get bored with it, and like super analytical, kind of like, it does require patience that I almost don't have. That it's like certain computer stuff does that to me, where it starts triggering me a little bit, and I'm like, no, I don't want to think that hard about letters and numbers and stuff.
Right. I think it's a different type. It's not interpersonal patience. It's patience with wires and numbers, and that's a totally different thing.
Yeah. Like, it amazes me how much people get interested in stuff that's so boring to me.
Oh, I know. Believe me.
It's like, how do you find that so interesting?
Or even like, I don't have, this is another thing. I don't know if this is right brain or what it is, but I literally just don't have any comprehension. I can't get comprehension. I mean, I have to try all these different ways to get it to go in. Most things for me go in when I'm doing something. I actually have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
For it to go into my brain, which is why I need conversation. I can't just read stuff off a page and then go do it. Like, that's what they want you to do. They want you to just read this document I sent you and then do it. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. You don't know what the hell you don't know what you're dealing with here.
I wish I had more patience for watching videos. I really can't. I realize it's like really difficult for me to sit down and watch videos a lot of times. Like, I'm trying to learn some Photoshop stuff, right? And so I'll look up a Photoshop video, and I'll get like 2 minutes into it, and I'll start getting like super bored and frustrated. And I'm like, I can't wait for this person to finish one more sentence. And it's like, in some ways, I'm a pretty patient person, but for some reason, like these type of videos, it's really hard for me to develop patience for them.
Well, what about, have you been doodling?
Maybe that's a good idea to doodle while that's a good idea. I'll have to try that.
Yes. Well, today in the meeting, I was drawing in the meeting because I was so annoyed with certain things. I was drawing, so I would just.
Yeah. I try to get something done when it starts getting too much talking, because I'm charging by the hour. So.
I mean, if that's what works for you, that might help you. Just doodle.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then when they start showing you something, then you can pay more attention to it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna try that. Thanks for that suggestion.
Sometimes with those Photoshop tutorials too, like I noticed how like any of those just tutorial like videos is like if I'm like actively working on a project that's related to the video, and the skills that are taught in the video, then that helps me stay engaged in it.
Yeah,
I can pause and kind of go back and forth and do, take those steps on my end and then pause it, watch some more, take those steps, pause it, watch some more.
That's pretty much how I wind up there. It's like I'm trying to do a specific thing. I know it's possible. I've seen someone do it, or I know it can be done. And I'm like trying to find someone who can tell me how to do it. And I'll start the video up and they'll start telling me how to do it. And they'll say one thing and I'll get really impatient. Like, okay, I got it. And I'll go try to do it myself. And then I'll realize, okay, I should have watched a little more. Like you're saying, go back and get back into it. But yeah, like actually sitting there watching the whole thing just seems like impossible. But I know some people do that.
Well, I mean, maybe your way is what you have to do, where you watch a little bit and then you apply it, and then because it sounds like you may have the thing I have where you have to do something. I mean, that's what you were doing before, carpentry, right? That's pretty hands-on, and you may ignite your smarts when you're actually doing something.
Yeah, I've always really never been very good at people showing me how to do stuff, even in carpentry. I kind of have to learn my own way the hard way a lot of times, which in some ways it sucks, but in some ways I wind up learning things better than other people do. But sometimes it takes me a little longer and I make more mistakes on the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can choose. I know for me, I can be really dumb if I'm not using my hands while I'm absorbing something.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm gonna work on that.
Turn off my smarts somehow if I'm not actually, which is actually giving me a clue. Like maybe when I go to the bank, I should have one of those squeeze balls or something.
Huh. Well, you get anxious at the bank?
Well, I have to go to the bank and try to tell them a bunch of crap that I don't understand.
About the PMA thing, yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder if I had a squeeze ball in my hand or I was doodling, maybe I could access those parts of my brain that know how to do it.
You have to get it. Is part of that getting an EIN?
Oh yeah, I got that already. Finally. Took like 2 weeks to get.
I did that once before.
But see, it's not the normal way to get an EIN either. It's
Okay.
one way to do it. So, I mean, I told other people, unfortunately, about what I was going through, and they're like, I got an EIN in one afternoon. And I'm like, that's because you followed, you did it the public way.
Mm-hmm.
I had to follow their exact directions. So it took, first I couldn't use the little online app. I ended up having to fill out the form, and I couldn't fill out the form either. I couldn't figure out the form because it asked more questions. I had to get Andy to help me with the form. That was crazy. Totally crazy. So then I finally got it, and then it took I faxed the form in, and then it took 10 days for them to get back to me. And they finally sent it to me, and now I have to go to the bank and with other shit, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is so. Okay, because it just goes against what my natural good thing, the things that I do well. It goes against all that.
Yeah, but you're probably doing a really good strengthening character by forcing yourself to learn some of that.
You have no idea. Yeah, I mean, Kurt, my boyfriend just got his general ham license, and
Nice.
and he had to super study. I mean, he's super left brain, and but he could not. He could not absorb the information. He was it was good for the technical license, but he couldn't absorb the stuff for the general, and he basically had to memorize or just take these tests, these practice tests over and over. See, the fact that he had the patience to do that, I probably would have torn my hair out. And I'm not actually I'm not trying to get my license. I'm like, this is way beyond me. The best way for me to do that would be to play with the ham radio and listen to him talk to people and learn a bunch from just doing that part. And then I could maybe learn some of the technical stuff.
Well, I don't know if this helps, but for me, a lot of what I feel like, in a way, it almost sounds like a learning disability. Yeah. It's actually an ability that a lot of people don't have. It's because the way my brain works is it has to know why something is done before it's willing to learn how something is done. And there's a lot of other people who are okay with learning instructional style in terms of 1, 2, 3, ABC, this is what you do. My brain completely rejects all that information until it's positive that it understands the why. And it's taken me a long time to understand that that's what's going on. But now that I'm clear about that, it's not quite as hard as it used to be. I have to ask people, if they're not willing to explain to me why something's important or why it needs to be done, I'm really not going to be able to learn very well, So I have to establish that first,
That's probably the problem I'm having with the PMA right there.
I would suspect so.
But I'm not going to be able to get it out of them. They don't really care. They don't. I'm telling you, they don't care.
That's the trouble with that legal mumbo jumbo. To me, it just doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it's like, well, why do I have to know this? Well, because you have to. That's it.
Just because that's the word they use. You're like, why do they use it? Because they're stupid. Well, then why do I want to have anything to do with them? Because the system's stupid. Oh.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say that. I think it's probably probably more like they have reasons, but they don't need to know the reasons. So they probably don't know them. So then that goes into the ego, right? And they don't want me to ask them questions that they don't know the answers to because they like being smart. You know what I mean? They don't need to know why. See, that's probably what it is. I bet you.
It might be. I mean, like, if you think about it a little, we'll see.
Jonathan,
see that?
Definitely be into this information right here, because that's what we have to really like. I mean, I feel like I'm doing this so that I can help all the other people like me learn this stuff, because everybody that I've run into is like, they're like, yeah, you do it first, Joanna.
Yeah.
You burn up in the flames of hell, and then we'll do it. We'll jump after you. And I'm like, oh my God. But it's like, they need that extra, and I'm gonna have to learn this without being given what I like to be given. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Work around.
Because those other people, maybe they have a photographic memory or whatever, and they can just absorb the stuff that makes no sense. This is why I could never learn geometry, because I didn't understand why. Why do I need to know this stuff? And so they did. They told me I had a learning disability.
Right.
Right.
I remember in I think it was trigonometry class. I was doing pretty good in math. I wasn't like the best, but I was decent. I was like a year ahead, and I got up to the trigonometry pre-calculus class, and they started teaching this stuff that some of the formulas included infinity. And I got into this like debate with the teacher about like philosophy, basically, because I'm like, well, what does infinity mean? He's like, well, you just have to recognize that it means a certain thing for this application. And I don't know, I just couldn't, his explanation couldn't work for me. And that was where I stopped in math. I just never went beyond that class. So he couldn't explain to me why I needed to be able to understand this. He couldn't explain to me why what he was saying was actual math and not philosophy. Because he couldn't prove that to me, I wasn't willing to learn it.
Right. Or you just couldn't. You couldn't learn it.
Yeah, I couldn't. I just couldn't get past it at the time.
Right. And that's now that we've been dumbed down so much, our brains aren't as flexible, I don't think. So it's much more difficult to be able to learn in these weird ways, because I definitely can feel my brain not being able to, things just slide off of my brain. And then I have to go back again and try something else again. I mean, I've been studying this law stuff for like 15 years and I still haven't been able to.
I wonder if you could, I've heard some people say that like there are like particular foods, like certain mushrooms that really help with memory functions and mental acuity. I wonder if there's certain kind of like supplement type herbal natural cures you might look into, like especially right before having to handle something that's particularly brainy like that you want to soak in.
Ginkgo tincture.
Ginkgo, is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you notice any kind of help do you feel like it's actually?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, I feel like, that definitely combated what I was feeling like extreme 5G thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel a lot clearer from taking ginkgo tincture, not the pills, the tincture, because it's liquid and seems to be going in fast, better. But yeah, so but I think there's some other things like that mushroom. I'm not sure what the mushroom is that you're talking about, but I've heard of that and I should look into it. I think I remember it's a weird.
I think there's a lot of mushrooms that might, you just get the powdered stuff from those fancy natural stores like the chaga mushrooms, and then there's all different ones, but you could just try some of the different mixes. I don't know, like what I do a lot of times is mix those powders into oatmeal with fruit. Just see which ones might have an effect,
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think I'll definitely.
Yeah, maybe some like adaptogens could help too, or something like the ashwagandha or something like that.
Yeah.
What's that? What's the ashwagandha?
Ashwagandha is just like an all-around good herb. I've heard just kind of like if you can keep getting in your body every day, it's really good from what I've heard from herbalist channels.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I have to write this down now.
And then there's like moringa. It's another one that's supposed to be good all around, anytime.
What? Moringa? Is that an herb?
It's a tree that has all these amazing benefits. Apparently, you could live on just the moringa tree. Someone told me.
All right, I'll just write this stuff down. I think I might even have ashwagandha. Moringa and mushroom.
The one that comes to mind is chaga, but I don't know if that's one that's really good for brain stuff or not. Chaga.
I'll look it up. I'll definitely look it up. I definitely need some help. I keep talking about this because I need help. I'm at the point now. I have one more thing I have to print out that I didn't even know I had to print out because I have, what is it, a learning disability or whatever, where I don't, my attention.
Oh, here's this other thing too from the Breathe book. Apparently, if you breathe in through your left nostril,
yeah, that's true.
it powers up your right side brain. So I wonder if you charged your left side, you know, before an informational meeting or before one of these going into the bank or something, you know, just sit there and
Yeah,
Yeah,
to plug that one nose, nostril.
yeah. Oh, I forgot my video was off all this time. Yeah, I was thinking like that. Here's what I'm drawing.
Neat. This is so cool.
Like a tree of life brain thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Like
But I
that.
have colors. So,
Since you've been on, did you just start that when you were on here?
yeah, I started this other thing that turned out really sucky. And then that was it was going to be like a design where I was like bending it over and I colored the back, you know, to get it to copy the
Yeah.
make like a symmetrical
Yeah.
thing, but I didn't like the way it was going. So I started over with my tree, and my tree is making me happy.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I've got my drawing on here. It's pretty light. I had
Oh, it's kind of like sacred geometry, huh?
yeah, it's sacred geometry, and it has some different. I'm gonna paint different things like going in here, like these top shapes. I have like the air, fire, earth, water kind of thing.
Neat.
You know, so on the air and the fire, kind of like the masculine, where the water and the earth are like the feminine. And then there's the mathematics, cosmology, music, and geometry, or art, I guess, is this geometry is representing art here. And I'm gonna have in here, there's gonna be like a hand with like strings and kind of like a puppet, kind of like representing that deterministic kind of right-brained. And then over here, I have already the dice kind of showing that random aspect on the two schisms. And then in here, I'm going to have like a king. And then over here, I'm going to have like the slave kind of.
Almost like a tarot card.
Schism. Yeah, it's going to be kind of like a schism, mental schism. And then in the center, actually, I have to draw these in still. There's going to be figures like holding hands, kind of sitting in a circle around right here. You know, like, so it's going to have kind of that father, mother, child kind of trivium, you know, there. And then in the very center, there's going to be like a really small heart, kind of implying that everything really should, when you're totally centered, you should be in the state of love, and that this is kind of just kind of be like that starburst of love that goes out into the, and then when you get out here, it's like the kind of more like grounded schisms that you got to watch out for. So.
The heart's at the center of the universe.
So
yeah, the heart's at the center of the brain here too, and it also kind of implies that if you make that heart brain connection, you know, there's the brain cells in the heart, and when you make that connection, you have better intuition, and everything just kind of unifies better.
Chris, you know, you're starting to do some art here, and you know, you could actually submit stuff to the show if you want. If you feel like
I'd have to put in a picture of my tool, my carpenter pencil.
Yeah, she's talking about that. Oh, nice.
On
the show in July.
Oh,
Flowback Gallery.
Oh.
Yeah, you'd have to send it, of course. That would be a drag, but
I don't know. That could be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I don't know how you're feeling. It seems like you're an artist, and maybe, I don't know.
I'm a doodleist.
Well, a doodleist is an artist. That's the thing. You just have to get confident with what you're doing, because people who doodle are artists. They just
Yeah, I
came
have my own little kind of thing I do, and I think it's definitely evolved over the years. And it's not like other art I see that other people do, but I like it. And when people look at it, they go, "Oh, that's cool." So I guess I can call it art and be happy.
You could actually start doing that, calling it art. I mean, there are, we are a tribe of people, artists, and we were born that way.
Well, I also like to screw around on the guitar a little bit. And it's not also something I'm not very like good at in your traditional sense, but what I do is pretty cool. A lot of other people don't do what I do, you know?
Right.
It's unique.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like you make up your own kind of tunes. You intuitively know what sounds good to your ears, and likely that's going to sound good to others' ears as well. And you know how to the basics of how to like use different power chords and different scales and stuff like that you can play that where you can make up just kind of intuitively
Exactly. Yeah.
your own kind of music.
Well, that's
Yep.
And then the trick is if you remember that, then you can maybe turn it into a song that you can, replay for people.
I've made up.
What'd you say?
I made up a whole bunch of songs. That's pretty much what I did for a lot of years. I would make up these goofy little songs. So I have like, probably 40 different songs I've made up over the years.
Nice.
I'm out of practice, so I've been trying to remind myself to start picking up my guitar again.
I know I only I do it for sanity at this point. I draw for sanity, but probably if it didn't give me something, I probably wouldn't do it because it's not encouraged in the world to do that. So, but it definitely gives me access to good brain function.
What kind of music would you listen to if you were doing artwork or drawing to get you in the right zone?
Me?
Yeah.
Psychedelic rock.
Psychedelic?
Yeah, I'm a deadhead, man.
Oh.
And I I stick with that pretty much. At this point, I'm not crazy about much else that goes on except bluegrass. But I mean, with all the crap that's gone on, I don't know if I'll ever see live music again, unless it's just somebody I know because of everything going on.
There's been a lot of popping up around here where people obviously want to get out. The nightclub and the places where people listen to music and play music are starting to really pop off. And up here where we're at,
where are you?
people don't wear masks anymore.
Where are you?
Near Mount Shasta, Northern California.
Oh, you are? Oh, wow. Cool. Are you near Dave Daly and Mark Raintrees?
I really don't know where those guys are at. Probably.
Yeah, Dave is in Chico and Mark Raintrees is in Fort Dick.
Oh, Chico's only like an hour and a half from here.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But so Mark is farther away, but he's a cool hippie musician from Santa Cruz. But that's a great area that you're in, and they're not. And I'm not surprised they're not wearing masks. Isn't that like kind of near Redwood? No, kind of where all the trees are. Nevada.
Well, weird is when you get closer, like what you're talking about, like the Redwood areas out closer to the coast. It's strange that those tourist towns by the ocean all really went communist.
they are. I know they're all bulliness and all.
Even Santa Cruz is one of the worst hostile areas.
What is?
Santa Cruz.
Oh, I'm sure. And like, well,
All the lefties popped it out over there, you know.
huh?
All the lefties took over or something. It's really weird.
Well, my whole family lives there. They live in Marin County and Berkeley in the Alameda County.
Yeah.
And it's so leftist. I know. Believe me. And I don't really understand how that happened, except I think it was a maneuver that was done on them, honestly, by the.
Well, think about all that money in Silicon Valley. You know, it's just like a sickness, you know, creeping in because there's more and more mold and mildew setting in because it's a bad environment, you know.
Well, I mean, but it's always been a certain type of people that live that in that area. And like I have family in Inverness, in Point Reyes Station, and now that is almost as bad as Aspen. I would say it's as rich as Aspen here. It's that kind of wealth, and it's they are like, ugh, it's gross. Where like when I grew up, it was just like ranches. They were ranch people. Now it's total mask mayhem, you know. But I mean, where you are,
it's a weird mix. You got a lot more people that are freedom minded. There's a lot of religious types too, but they're the more tolerable type from my point of view. That even though they might be kind of set in their ways, they're not the type of people that think they should go around telling other people how to be. You know, there seems like there's a lot more of a common agreement on respect other people's wishes, you know.
right, that's the old time way.
Yeah, it's just a lot more prevalent up here in a lot of ways. You can notice it, and you know, ever since I moved up here, I'm just like, okay, this is better. I can work with this, you know.
You live there?
It's only been about a year.
Oh wow. So where were you before?
I moved twice. In 2020 is when I left Santa Rosa.
Oh boy.
And, you know, I'd been married and living there for 17 years. I'd been married and then kind of got split up from my kids too. So I go down there every month. My kids are teenagers.
Oh boy.
So yeah, it was a pretty big move, pretty big change in life. But, you know, it's been cool because now I have surrounded myself with people that I feel more spiritually in line with. And that makes a big difference.
Oh, for sure, definitely.
I got my top of my tree filled in.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, that's
It's
nice.
I hate to tell you,
brain
but
spheres if you do it this way, huh?
huh?
Yeah, that's cool.
Kind of like brain hemispheres if you turn it this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's not. There's nothing like turning people on to art and having them jump on it. I've seen a few people in my time.
Oh yeah, look at this poster in here. You guys will like this. Can I get it?
Is that your work? No, that's somebody else's work, right?
Yeah, no, it's just something we got in the wall in the garage here.
Oh, cool.
Trippy poster.
Wow.
Trippy. Oh, man. Well, you will probably get into Photoshop. I love Photoshop. I can't use it anymore, but I don't have a Mac anymore. But once you get into Photoshop,
I just get frustrated with how much time I spend not getting anything done sometimes when I'm trying to work on it.
What? What'd you say?
Like I get frustrated with how much time goes by where I didn't get anything done. I was just learning what doesn't work.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah, I know what you mean.
you know.
It's
like,
definitely that can happen.
A lot of time that just went by. Got nothing done.
Well, that's just you learning. That's all.
Yeah.
But you'll learn it. I mean, Photoshop is such a robust program. You can never learn everything that's in that program. Forget it. I used to teach Photoshop. I got up to CS3. I'm sure I don't even know what it's at now, where it's at now. But what I kind of realized at some point was that it's the same as the first one. It's just got more bells and whistles. And they take what people do and they make it into a command or whatever. And then you have to relearn it every time they come up with a new version, which is a real pain in the butt. And but once you learn stuff, I mean, it's really cool. You can fall right into Photoshop for a while. I remember that's how I hurt my back. Was I sat, when I first got Photoshop, I sat for 6 hours without moving. And my back has never been the same since. So beware the Photoshop monster once you get into it.
A back destroyer, the destroyer of backs.
You gotta remember to get up and stretch every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, Woody knows this. You love Photoshop, right?
I use Photoshop. Yeah, I haven't been using it as much lately, but yeah, I use it quite a bit.
So maybe I should hit you guys up when I get stuck.
Possibly, yeah.
Woody probably. I don't. What version are you using? The latest one?
Yeah.
I have no idea what the hell.
Well, the way they got it set up now, you pretty much got to be using the latest one. You have to just keep paying and paying and paying to keep it. It's why I've put it off so long, because I didn't want to do that. But now they're letting me use a joint account.
Oh, cool. That's neat. Well, I mean, I use GIMP, and GIMP.
I've used GIMP quite a bit in the past, but it's just talk about taking forever to learn how to do stuff. Boy.
Well, I probably figured it out because I knew Photoshop.
I mean, I guess, yeah, like once you understand the whole layers thing, that's like a big deal. I still really struggle with masks and what masks are. Why is a mask really different than a layer? Isn't it just another layer? Why do they call it a mask?
Oh, it's like
It's pretty much just different layer, but the thing that you can do with masks is like, for instance, say you have like a photo and you want to like of a person and you want to superimpose that person on top of like a mountain scene or something. If you mask it, if you mask the part of the photo with the person out that you don't, all the stuff out that you don't want, and you accidentally take something out that was supposed to stay in there, if it's a mask, you can still get it back because you're not actually erasing any of the data of the photo, but on the layer, you might actually be erasing all that. So the mask, what the mask does is it takes away that imagery just where you tell it to. So like if, for instance, like you're roughly like cutting this person out and you accidentally cut off a couple of the fingers, and you realize later on that when you're zooming in and kind of just making sure everything's, there. If you were to just delete all that background out of that photo, then it'd be a lot harder to get back than if you mask it, because you can.
Well, like the word is mask. It's masked. It's not really cut out. It's like if you think about the old days, we would use ruby lips for this. It would just
could also be, a mask could also be like a layer of color you add. It's not necessarily something you're just taking away, right?
You could add, yeah. I mean,
but it's not really there. It's a mask. Like the real thing is still underneath.
Got it. Okay, that helps.
Yeah.
And so when you're adding stuff, you're actually kind of taking away the mask so that the image shows up. And when you're taking stuff away with the masking, you're actually removing the visibility of that. You're not actually removing it.
You're moving the visibility.
I could probably explain it easier visually than
Well, but I mean, just
What you guys are saying right now is really helping. It's kind of what I need to do is understand the theory behind it.
exactly. I mean, that's what you told us is that's how you learn. But I mean, the point is, look at a mask on somebody's face. It's covering up their face, but their face is still there behind the mask. And if you want to see it, you can just remove the mask. Change the shape of the mask, and the mask will reveal more than what was there before. But
Exactly.
the layer, then you're actually deleting it, and it's actually gone. So you can't remove the mask then. You'd have to do the whole picture over again, starting from scratch if you used a regular layer. See what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, it does always store each thing you did in order in history, but you can't really go back and just change one aspect. And then when you use the history, everything changes back to that point, right?
Yeah, you might lose work because you may have done like a bunch of work in a different area that before you noticed that the hand was missing.
Right.
And if you went back in history, you'd lose all that other work.
Got it.
What you would have to do in that case is you just have to re-import the image, the original image file in, and then you'd have to re-cut out that portion that you needed to get back. And that might be difficult because you might have to like scale it a bunch and move it around, really like a bunch of fine tuning and stuff to get that hand back in the example I was using.
Right. Yeah, that helps.
Right, because that's a good, and that helps me to see how you learn, because I think I need to know why too, and that's a big problem with these law people, because they don't care why. They just have the rule, and they tell you this is the rule, and I need to know why. If it's going to stick with me, I need to know why. But they're not telling me any of that, so I'm going to try and find out why myself.
And the problem with the law stuff like that though too is like the why is the law. It's like
because it's arbitrary.
Why? It's because they just reread the law. That's why.
Right. That's the point I was making using the word stupid, which is not the best word, but it's always arbitrary, or it's based on precedent, which is pretty much arbitrary from my point of view. But, like at least knowing that's what your brain's doing, you might not always get the exact information you want in terms of why. But knowing that that's what your brain's doing might allow you to kind of circumvent that issue a little bit,
Right. Or maybe, just tell myself, well, why is because we live in this horrible system and we're trying to find a loophole for the system, and that's it. So you just have to accept it. And it has to do with also abstract thought, which is, I'm not very good with abstract thought either sometimes, which I think is what that is. Abstract thought is not, you don't get to know why with abstract thought. You just have to accept it. Like you have to accept, in algebra that A equals B or whatever. And I'm stuck going, why? Why does A equal B? And they're like gone, on to the next chapter. I'm still stuck asking why. And they're telling me I don't need to know why, but I do need to know.
Right.
If it's too abstract, then I won't be able to follow it. So I mean, I'm not really sure how that fits in with the schism, the right and left brain schism thing.
Well, it's part of understanding, our brain, right? Like the balance. If we can understand which way we're leaning on a particular issue, then we can compensate, right?
For sure. Yeah, it's like that mindfulness of, I'm kind of slipping into this determinism thing. Maybe I need to go back a little bit and see what the random component is in this, situation.
I hear myself being like pretty critical of people that get excited about the law, like over here, like, oh, that's just a bunch of stupid mumbo jumbo, you know what I mean? But like, that's not, having that point of view is not really productive to me. Learning from someone that probably has some knowledge that I can gain that might be helpful in the real world, So like sense myself being, I don't know if that's right brain or left brain. But it's an extreme, one or extreme or the other on a thing that I'm like resistant to. So if I can be more calm and balanced, I can learn to see the validity of learning something that might help me out. And that might require me kind of like changing my mental state so I can do that, you know?
For sure.
I want to put color on this picture.
Do you have color? You have color. I saw you had color. Do you have color pencils?
Yeah, I left them all in my office, and I'm back home now. I think I'm gonna leave it at that for today. Color it another day.
That's really cool.
Sometimes it's fun too, like you can scan it maybe into the computer and make a like a outline, and then you can print that out and color it.
Yeah, this actually could be something that could be like an adult coloring book thing.
Yeah. Or you can, sometimes it's fun to like scan stuff like that into the computer and just have fun and Photoshop over the top, like with different colors and stuff.
Yeah, maybe if you do your own work, that would help you learn.
Like you can go, you know, make a layer, make that the background layer, and then do another layer on top, you know, with a color, maybe each color is its own layer.
Yeah, have like a gradation or something.
Yeah, or just, I don't know, just have fun, do whatever, you know, experiment. Because in Photoshop, you get, like, if you mess up, you can just erase it or hit Control-Z or whatever. So
that's what's crazy about too. When you get too far into Photoshop, then you start thinking you have Control-Z in real life.
yeah, you're like working on some artwork, like a real painting, and you're like, wait a minute, you're like trying to hit the keyboard, and oh wait, there's no keyboard here. I got paint all over my hand now.
Copy and paste.
Well, Control-Z is the one I get thinking that I can.
You know what's really been annoying me about Photoshop lately is like you used to have to hold the shift key to keep things in proportion when you scaled them, but they switched it so you don't have to hold the shift key anymore. And it's just like, and like most of their, like pretty much all their other software, you still have to hold the shift key when you're scaling stuff. So it's just annoying. I don't know.
Well, yeah, this is what they do. They do stuff like that. And this is why I decided to get out of my Photoshop. I was using it all the time. And then I'm like, what happens if I can't afford this? And I'm like addicted to Photoshop. I'm like, I don't want to have to depend on the computer anymore. So I got out of I stopped doing computer art. I really got into it. Plus, I could never print what I had. It was never perfect. It was never, I could never get exactly what it was like on the screen. So I was like, this sucks. But
yeah, I still like to do stuff on the computer, but I still like doing stuff by hand too. There's a different aesthetic when you're doing stuff by hand versus on the computer.
well, I just don't, I'm really like starting to, hate the internet and hate the whole thing. Like I'm getting to where I'd like to get to the point where I don't ever have to use it anymore someday, where I can abandon the whole thing and just go live completely off the grid without it.
Well, in the meantime, you're trying to figure out how to make money on it, though, right?
Yeah, I guess.
How are you guys going to advertise this show?
We're going to do Mark's class.
Oh, that'll help.
And
right now, it's like kind of hard to find you.
What?
It's a little hard to find.
Our class?
Yeah, we're still working on that. We're gonna start. Joanna made a Facebook page the other day. We're gonna start promoting that, and then I want to start doing like just short, like clipping short audio bits that are good, or like there's some good like conversation, or just like someone says something like really insightful, or something that's solution oriented, or just take like that small clip of something like that and then speed up, like maybe me or Joanna working on some artwork, or even someone else if we have video footage of them, their drawing coming together. Then kind of speed that up so you have the artwork kind of being created right in front of your eyes, while like that clip of like, and then that way it's like shorter clips that people can see, that maybe it's like a minute long or a couple minutes long, just rather than trying to tune into this 3 hours of tangents and philosophical conversation.
Right. That makes sense. A little bite-sized bit.
Yeah, and post stuff like that on like social media and different stuff to try to gain interest, and then get people to like have an opt-in where people can go, know how to get to our website where they can do a consultation with us, and we can get them the information as far as how to be part of this, art creating group, and also potentially if they don't feel comfortable going live with us, maybe we have some classes that they could take that would help them build their fundamental skills as an artist before they come join us on the live thing. If they want, if they wanted to go that route, or they could come still join us on the live event and take one of the classes while they're doing that. So
I mean, the other thing is, I think we're still vetting people. We're not going to just let people come on, because we don't want to get into an argument with any. I don't think we're ready for that. People who don't.
Yeah, you don't have like a debate with someone who's totally like, "Oh, government's great."
You guys should. I don't want to be in your with that.
Yeah, we might entertain having someone on who's kind of like a fence sitter, where they're kind of like, kind of skeptical, but not fully on the freedom side of things yet. That kind of person might be a good person to have, that, hearing this stuff and being part of the conversation might, help open parts of their mind, or parts of different views of our world that they really hadn't gone to yet, and stuff like that. So,
but yeah, we do have to get the word out. But I mean, we're still kind of developing it. I feel like we're still developing it.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like we should probably, just go through this right now and go through Mark's class. And I think we'll probably get further into what we're really doing from that process.
Yeah, but it would be really good to have like a process for like, for instance, someone like me, like I show up, I like the class, I want to come back, but over the next few weeks, my life gets all busy and I kind of forget about it. Like, you should have my email address.
Yeah, we have it. And I need to get better about setting up like a weekly, shout out to everyone that we've collected their emails so far.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, look, we're meeting, Tuesday night.
Oh, right. But Woody, what he's saying is, we used to get people through the book, free book offer, but now we're not collecting people's emails. We have no way to collect people's emails right now.
We do if they sign up for our consultation. It collects their email.
That's true.
But you could just like, if someone shows up to class, ask them, hey, do you want to get on the newsletter for future classes?
Right, for sure.
Have a process this kind of in mind, because I've been thinking about that. Like, that's something I should have thought of. With the stuff work I do is like, I need a way, like I've had a lot of people come and go and show interest, and then I've lost them. You know, like I really need a way, once somebody gets hooked into my show, to keep them around, you know, to not forget about him, you know?
Oh, you mean like those emails that Richard sends out every week that you get?
Yeah.
Like if you had never done autonomy?
Right. Like, I mean, they can be a little irritating, but on the other hand, I really appreciate them when I want to go. I try to find the last email when I want to go check out the show, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get on that more heavily. But yeah, the idea that we have now is people, if they see our show or if they see one of those like short videos like I'm talking about, they're gonna go to our website, and then at the website, if you click to have a consultation, then that's our free offer. Is like, we're gonna give you a consultation not only on how you can be a part of the show, because we're not planning on sharing this Zoom link, just blasting it out to the world. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, you know, we already knew you, Chris, so we didn't have to like, you didn't really need a consultation to come on the show. We knew, you know, you
Right.
from autonomy and Joanna from working with you that, oh, we know Chris, we like Chris, he's a good guy. He can come on, we'll give him the link.
Yeah.
But like,
Got it.
as far as like blasting it out on Facebook, hey, if you're interested, come to this link. You know, we're trying to direct people to the website and do the consultation first. They do the consultation, and they, you know, we have a questionnaire we go take them through, and that with that questionnaire we kind of find out, you know, what level they are in their art experiences. You know,
Yeah.
you know, what they're interested. Are they more interested in learning how to do art from us, or are they more interested in being just on the show and being part of the philosophical discussion? And
Right.
then we can,
That makes sense.
stuff like, hey, look, this is, if you really want to show people your art as you're creating it, this is how you can set up like a phone on an easel and join the Zoom call with using that phone camera, or, you know, stuff like that, to help people kind of be a participant, because we want to have participants, you know, and have discussion, because there's not a lot of places where people get to have that kind of discussion, you know.
True.
So that's kind of where we're going with some of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think people probably will like it. I mean, I friended a bunch of your friends off of Facebook, and that's what I'm basically now, because I was following different advice before, and I didn't like it, the advice I was following. So now I'm just trying to reach out to the freedom community people, you know, that I friended your friends, Chris, and I friended people from.
Yes. Art,
Second, you're in here?
because I was hanging out on Zoom with my friends Joanna and Woody
Oh, when did you come home?
like an hour ago.
Before I left?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you were here.
Yeah,
I didn't even
I'm
see your
mute.
car.
Sorry, guys.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's a good point, Woody. We should make a note of that.
Right.
About the newsletter thing, but I don't think we're ready for that yet.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started the Mystery School of Art, I was kind of keeping up with like emailing everyone every week and stuff like that. But then that kind of stopped, and then we just were kind of, everything was up in the air for a little bit, and then we started doing this thing, and now I'm just like,
Yeah, we'll get it done.
It's a
I'm
lot of
trying to like, honestly, I was a little bit depressed there for a little while because my dad passed away and some stuff happened, and so, but I'm like, I've dug myself out of that.
good.
Now.
It's
So,
crazy work it is trying to do something like that, like keeping up on a newsletter or doing something every week. It's just like, it's hard, man. It's a lot, especially you got kids, you know. Or,
yeah, you gotta like just kind of commit to it and then just do it and then
Well, I mean, I'm actually using a book right now that has 365 days in it, and I'm using that as a basis to write posts for a daily post thing.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
cool.
So that
Smart.
I'm using it's a book that's gone into the public domain, and it's a book I actually really like, and I'm just slowly writing this, you know, because I did that originally with Facebook. I had like 3 months worth of posts, but then when 3 months was over, I didn't have any more, and I just like didn't know what to do. So, and I didn't have the right audience either. So it was just an experiment. But now I'm like, well, I need to have this. I need to have like enough posts forever somehow, you know. So that, or if it's going to be daily, I mean, maybe it shouldn't be daily. Maybe it should be every, 2 or 3 days. I don't know, but
at a bare minimum weekly maybe.
right. Well, you got to keep people interested, and but yeah, I mean, I kind of decided, well, I'm just going to friend people's friends, like, and get these people, because the people I had were just regular Denver people, and most of the people were like, jabbed, and they were totally fine with it. Now they were people that once they found out that I wasn't jabbed, they unfriended me. So I was like, okay, well, guess I better be more selective in my vetting here.
Freedom friends.
Huh?
You need freedom friends.
Freedom friends. Yeah, freedom friends are more likely to be interested in what we're doing. And, ultimately, I would like to teach my class again someday, maybe, which is intuitive painting. And that, I don't know how that's going to come about, but it might evolve that way.
Intuitive what?
Intuitive painting.
Painting. Okay.
Yeah, that's where you really tap into the subconscious, and you put it on paper actually, and like you can just start doing amazing work. But it's always better to do it if you know how to draw and paint already, because then you'll see more and you'll be able to articulate more of what you see. And that's my hope.
Like the translation.
Huh?
The tools to be able to translate it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just because if you're looking at a big mass of color that's in front of you, if you've been trained in art, then you know how to see things, and you'll see more stuff in there than you would if you don't have that eye-hand coordination. And then once you can see more stuff, then and if you have the confidence of an artist, somebody who's done some work like that, then you can pull it out more than if you're new. You might not see a lot of the stuff that might be in there, in like a Rorschach. It has to do with training your hands to see what your eye sees through, and you use nature for that. You use drawing from nature for that, and that's what we were teaching at first. But then Richard, kind of told us we can't give our stuff away for free like we were, but he's right. But I think
Yeah, so we came up with the idea because we were having so much fun doing the free classes that we came up with the idea to do this art salon kind of philosophy while we're doing art. So we're not really telling people how we're doing the art. We're more talking the philosophy, and then if they want to learn how to do art, we can definitely teach them how to do that. If they want to learn how to do Joanna's intuitive painting course, she could definitely teach that course as part of this endeavor, and we could find that out like in the consultation. Oh, you want to learn about intuitive painting? you need to take Joanna's intuitive painting class, you know.
Great.
Well,
whole-
eventually, I mean, I had hoped
Lead magnet then.
to learn actual drawing first, but look at you. I mean, you're just, you've been doodling all this time, and now suddenly you're drawing because you like it. So that we could also get some people like that, you know.
For sure.
Yeah, like as almost pitch it as a meditative brainwave restoring process that's good for your mind and body and soul or something, you know.
Yeah, we kind of have that. We have a little testimonial that I still need to get up on the website from Mike Nimitz, where he kind of is like he points out that it not only does he sees it as a way to like kind of extend your attention span as far as, you know, drawing and doing art. It like really helps you kind of forget about time and just spend more than 10 minutes on something is something is a skill, you know, to have. You know, if you can focus for several hours or a whole day just on one painting, then that's pretty valuable skill to have, you know.
Right.
We've lost so much. I mean,
And then just like kind of the entertainment of this. But yeah, no, because he did a couple of our classes, or he sat in a couple of the first free classes we did, and he really liked it. And so
Yeah, I remember hearing him talk about it because he was coming to. I've been doing the True Care Support Network on Tuesdays. He would a lot of times. He came times on Tuesday. Said what a good time he had with you guys, and I was like, oh, I want to make it over there.
yeah,
what are you doing on Tuesdays?
he does the True Care Network.
Oh, you know, we were going to switch to Tuesdays. Oh no, we have to.
I don't do it till 7 p.m. Pacific time.
Oh, good. All right.
Which would be, was that 6 o'clock our time?
No,
Mountain
that
time?
No, it's late. An hour later.
Eastern, 9 Mountain, I guess. I think. Is that right?
Aren't you just like an hour ahead of us or
No,
behind us?
Behind us.
Yeah,
You
right
guys-
now it's almost 7 here.
Right.
Yeah. 5.
So it's almost 6 there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna probably head out at 6 here.
No worries.
All right. Well, it's been nice having you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
so we're moving to Tuesday as of next week, same time, but it'll be Tuesday nights from here on out. Because we're taking Mark's class in July, and that's going to be on Monday nights. And the other part is just Mondays. I've noticed it's like there's holidays, and there's always weird schedule things that happen on Monday.
Woody's got a bunch of stuff coming up on Monday, so we just decided to change it. So that's the way that's going to go down.
Cool. Yeah, hopefully I'll be trying to make it to Mark's classes when I can too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
That'll be good to learn some of that stuff. Some
All
of
right.
it probably already know, but some of it definitely I don't.
I mean, they talk about other stuff, right?
After the class, they have general discussion.
Woo! Look at that. That's really tripidicular, man. Yeah, that'll be color in.
I'll take a better picture and send it to you guys. Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna cut out. Good hanging out with you guys.
Good to hang out. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Do you post your finished stuff on the website when you're done?
There'll be a link to the. Oh, do you mean the finished artwork?
Yeah.
No, but we should start doing that. And we have a Discord server we could invite you to as well
Cool.
where we can post stuff.
Right on.
Drawing nature in. I'll go ahead and I'll make a note to invite you to that tomorrow so that you can, if you want to put anything in there, you can.
Well, yeah, we should actually have a page where we have all the.
Yeah, we should. I can make a page that has just like all our artwork that we've been working on. Just
Yeah,
to
that'd be fun for someone new coming in to check out too. They'd be like, "Oh, look at that."
Yeah.
Good idea. Thanks.
I agree. That's a good idea. Thanks.
Right on. All right. Have a good night, friends.
Thanks. You too.
All right. See you soon.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Back to mental schisms. See, now I would never have done this thing that I just did if I wasn't talking to you guys. This was very
Nice.
so this is what I made this border with
Oh,
more
nice. That's cool.
and I'll just paint them, you know, when it dries, I'll paint them. And there it's just another morning glory vine. So yeah, there's no way I would have done this if I hadn't been on. Because I would have overthought it, you know, probably.
Yeah, earlier there was a little hiccup. I thought I lost the call there for a second. It looks like everything's still streaming and everything's still recording though, so that's good.
Oh yeah.
I realized what happened was for some reason my computer was signed in to the wrong Wi-Fi network, and so I had like really bad Wi-Fi, and so luckily I was able to switch Wi-Fi's to the good one.
Well, so I'm at the same situation now. I'm done and I have an hour to go. So I wonder what I should do.
You'll figure it out. I'm far from done. I got my drawing on my canvas, or well, most of it.
I know you're just gonna start. You're just starting, and you could work on that. Like hopefully you'll work on that until it's done because that's a really nice drawing.
Oh, I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna always be working on it during this salon, but I'm definitely gonna finish it before the truth show.
Right. Oh, yeah. It looks like a bigger than 16 by 20 to me. It looks bigger, like 18 by 24 or something.
1620 according to the documentation on the pre-stretched canvas wrapper that I used here. So I just mixed up a like color here. I was gonna try to paint some paint on here. I'm sick of drawing, so.
Oh yeah, you should get after it, man.
I made this like fleshy kind of tone that I'm gonna paint on the head.
Oh, is there a head?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see the line work, but there's like a head that goes all the way around with like ears.
Oh wow. Now I remember that painting drawing thing. Yeah, now I remember.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's a fun one. I guess I decided to start this just tonight because it's kind of, when I did this drawing, I was thinking of the mental schisms and also the quadrivium, the trivium, and the left and right hemispheres and the balancing of that and stuff like that. So I think that, yeah. And that's why I partly use the sacred geometry. I started with the sacred geometry with the circle geometry, but I also incorporated the straight lines because I was thinking like the curved lines kind of represent the feminine, whereas like the straight pointier lines represent like the masculine. And then in the center here, we have like the very center of the flower of life pattern mixed with the Star of David. That's kind of this feminine and the masculine, right, mixing right there. And which is crazy because like that, I was watching that video about the chestahedron
Oh yeah.
and like how like he still fits the chest, that part of the chestahedron when you turn it into a wireframe and you move the rubber bands, it makes this six-sided shape here, which is really interesting that he was able to even fit that chestahedron into like the sacred six-sided flower of life type geometry, which is pretty cool. And it's really neat that that thing is like, he believes is kind of like the shape of the heart too, which is, and then when he like, he has his straight angle version, but when he made the curved version, how it actually looks kind of like the human heart,
Yeah.
is pretty neat. And talking about like how the vortex, he was able to explain like the double vortex that's happening inside the heart through that geometry and through that discovery of that shape, which I thought was like really awesome.
I might send that to my brother. My brother's in open heart surgery right now. He's having open heart surgery right this second.
Which is, oh, and it was interesting, like how he was talking about the congestive heart failure, and that's when the heart is actually becoming more of a square shape than the longer kind of heart chestahedron kind of shape. And like it's interesting that the shape of the heart is actually determining that disease.
Oh my God, he had 4 bypasses. Holy crap. Sorry.
Wow,
That's not good.
pretty hardcore.
That's pretty hardcore. Wow. He's not very hard.
Take a minute and
I'm gonna find that text and send it to him right now. They made I sent it to you as a text, didn't I?
well, it was interesting that he was talking about too how you can like, he's like, if you get too grounded into like the material like left brain prison, that can actually be unhealthy for your heart, whereas you need to have that balance with the right brain into intuitive artistic side of things in order to actually maintain a healthy heart. Because I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, here it is. The new sacred geometry of Frank Chester. I'm going to put this in for my brother. I don't know if he'll like it or not.
Right. Yeah, that, I don't know. It kind of, it's not like the most necessarily entertaining video at all times, but there's some really cool stuff in it. I guess it could get a little dry sometimes with him like explaining the thing, but it's really neat how he has all those things built, and like it's not like a computer animation showing you how all that stuff fits together. He actually like built all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it was a cool, and it came from a customer of Dr. Andy.
Yeah. Because there's something that's pretty neat how he used the pentagonal, sacred pentagonal geometry, though, is one of the secrets to how he found that chestahedron.
And then it's called a chestahedron too. That's pretty funny. That's the heart and everything.
Well, but that's what's funny too, is it's probably the reason he called it that is because his name is
I know.
Chester. But just the fact that his name has his chest, and then like he figured out the sacred geometry of the heart, which is in the chest, is kind of maybe it's because of his name that he was able to figure that out. If he had a different name, maybe he wouldn't have figured that out.
Yeah, who knows? That's
You know what I
pretty-
mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, because
Because he has that chest in his name, so it's like that manifested him, you know, finding a sacred shape that happens to be inside the chest.
I have to take a break for a moment.
Yeah, no worries.
Nature calls. A nature calls break. So,
This happens from time to time.
yep, I'll be right back.
Nature does call. So there's lots of mental schisms going on in the world right now, lots of worldview schisms, which are probably the most dangerous. You know, we have these contrasting worldviews. You know, we have the religious people saying God's preordained everything already, and then you have the atheist or the scientific people saying another thing. You know, everything they're saying, oh, everything's random. Oh, everything's deterministic. No, really, there's more. You know, there are deterministic things, but there are also, you know, in human, we're talking about humanity. We do actually have free will. We can actually choose to do one thing or another. And sometimes those choices can be swayed depending on what side of the brain you're making your decision out of. You need to, if you're making a balanced decision, then you're probably going to have a better, or yeah, you're going to have that better understanding of the truth of the situation. Fleshing this out a little bit. Brown color on here. Start getting the underpainting going.
See, what am I going to do here? I think I'm going to maybe just do these edges. I can do the edges. Maybe not. Probably going to work. Well, it might work, but oh well. That's the way it is.
I was originally going to do this on a square canvas, but I actually think the rectangle's going to work out better for this. I'm always doing all these pieces on here that are going to take way more than 3 hours to do. But I'm trying to kind of keep my artwork to matching the subject matter-ish. Maybe that'll get abandoned here so I can finish some of these pieces a little bit more. Because even my last week piece is still unfinished. I got some stuff to add to that one.
He's using his left hand right now.
To do a pretty straight line too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Sometimes I like to just use my left hand. It's just out of convenience because I can't get to the canvas at that angle with my other hand. So. Just kind of putting a thin layer of paint on here for now. But, I would say that another, some more worldview schisms would be like right-wing politics versus left-wing politics are two huge schisms in our world, especially here in the United States and even abroad. But like, right-wing politics is creating one worldview, whereas the left-wing politics is creating another worldview. And then they're clashing with each other. And we have a lot of like this whole divide and conquer situation going on because of that. Whereas really and usually what I've noticed a lot of times is you have these fanatics on one side, like, oh, this is going to happen. And then on the left, they're like, oh, and this is going to happen. And it's usually polar opposites. What fanatical thing is going to happen? And usually what I've noticed is what actually happens is something kind of in the middle. Like sometimes
it's polarity.
Sometimes it's like, I feel like the right-wing politics and the left-wing politics, sometimes they end up canceling each other out in a way that nothing ever really ends up moving forward. Or if something does end up moving forward, both sides usually have to make some sort of compromise. And when that compromise is made, you end up with something kind of in the middle. It's not what this fanatic said over here on the left or what the fanatic over here on the right said. It's kind of like a compromise that made both sides happy. Not always, but sometimes.
I mean, but that's polarity. That's the idea of the whole thing, is to polarize people into the right or the left and have them hate each other. All this is about is to try to keep people in one side or the other so they can't your camera's off, Woody.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, there you go. So
happens sometimes.
They can't they can't organize and get anywhere. I mean, when I think about like how complex we are, if we were all working for our well-being and the well-being of the earth, oh my God, can only imagine how wonderful it could be. Like if we knew we were in a mystery school when we first started, and we just were groomed into that, and learned all the great meditation techniques from the beginning, and learned all the ancient knowledge from the beginning, like how amazing it could be here, but
yeah,
it is true. The opposite is true. And so when it comes to worldview schisms, the whole point of worldview schisms is to polarize people into one side or the other so that they hate each other and can't function in a balanced way. So
yeah, like it, and when you're unbalanced, that's when you're controllable too. You have more, you can be controlled. If you're stuck on one polarity on either in the left or the right brain, you're more controllable than if you have a balanced outlook on things. Because if you have that balanced outlook, you're like, wait a minute, something fishy here. I don't know. Like, I have my free will. I should be able to make my own decision about this. vaccination or whatever it might be that they're trying to push with their agenda, you know. And so, but you're right, they're trying to keep us in the polarized state of the schism of one side or the other, because when we're in that, then maybe we're not even taking the real steps of discovery that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, how there's discovery versus perception, you know. Maybe they're just perceiving that one side, and then that's allowing that agenda to control their behaviors. Whereas if you had a balanced approach, you'd be like, no, wait a minute, I can make my own decision here. And based off of this aggregate of information where I looked up, like, you know, all these different angles on the same situation, I found out that, hey, look, this is, you know, both of these side polarities are telling you a lie. Whereas, like, if you really do your own research, you find the truth, you know, on the matter versus believing the polarized agenda propaganda. You know, you see the both sides of the science. You know, there's two sides of science these days. You know, there's the side of science that's, you know, siding with pharmaceutical kind of companies, and then there's the side of science that's siding with nature and like, hey, look, it's like food is your medicine and vitamins and stuff, you know, immunal support is more important than um, pharmaceutical tricking your immune system into doing something that it already knows how to do in nature. And then there's a theory too with this, like if you, especially with like vaccination of children and stuff, is you're actually kind of tricking their immune system into thinking that the cure for these ailments is actually supposed to come from outside of their body, via like a shot or a medicine or something, versus actually their immune system being triggered, you know, just naturally because it notices something wrong in the body, you know. Like it's if you always just get shots and stuff for everything, every time you get sick, your immune system might start thinking, oh, I can't operate unless I have a shot, which would be really bad because, you know, that's not how your immune system's supposed to work. So it's supposed to recognize the foreign problems and take care of them on its own by producing more white blood cells and stuff.
Right.
You know, and there's two sides of science too. There's the side of science that they're telling us that coincides with their agenda, and then there's the science that is being put out, but it's not being publicized, you know, at the level that it should be, because it's proving some of the other mainstream stuff that they're telling us wrong. But then they're not updating it and being like, oh, by the way, this new study came in that says this, and Darwin's, you know, Darwinism is social Darwinism isn't actually really a thing, you know. It's a nice color, don't you think?
I do. I think it looks great.
It's a nice middle of the road color, not too dark, not too light. Don't want to be viewed as a racist now, do I?
Whatever.
If you always use the same color of skin, people know I have variety in my paintings. Come on. I mix all my skin tones down from yellow, red, and blue. So every time I do it, it turns out a little bit different, I think.
So that's all the primaries, though. That's an interesting reality that the skin tone comes from the primaries.
Well, most of the time when I'm doing skin tones, it's like some form of brown, be it a light brown or a dark brown. And so in order to make brown, you need all the primary colors mixed together. That's how you make brown. But then you can balance your browns differently depending on how much of certain colors are added too. So you have a redder brown or bluer brown or greener brown, yellower brown. And that's all color balance. You know, we talk a lot about balance on this here in this place. But back to what Joanna was talking about earlier is like, it's interesting she was hitting on like the fact that as humanity, we don't have like a unified purpose for being here on Earth. You know, it's like, and then it's like, oh, you can just find your own purpose, or like, oh, you're good at art, so maybe your purpose on Earth is to be an artist. Or, you know, I feel like if humanity had more of like a unified purpose, like, oh, our purpose on life is to be the most, you know, ruthless and cutthroat person so I can be the most successful. Well, that's pretty selfish, you know, outlook on life. You know, what if, like Joanna was saying, what if our goal in life was to make everyone's life be enjoyable and fulfilling and, you know, share with each other and push each other up and stuff like that, versus competing with each other and pushing each other down, you know. And it's weird because like we're not born with like a, you know, humanity, we don't have like, to this day, we don't have like a unified goal. Like, hey, our goal is to make sure the planet is healthy and all the humans on this planet are healthy. That would be a great goal, but that's not the goal. There is no goal. There's multiple goals. There's like, there's this corporation over here and its goal is to fly people to Mars. And then there's this corporation over here and its goal is to like create the best electric car. And then there's this corporation over here and its goal is to build houses for people. And it's like, there's no like unified thing like, hey, this is what humanity, what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be taking care of this planet, taking care of our fellow humans, and then maybe think about expanding off planet too. And then going to other worlds that we can explore and take care of and make sure, you know, there's a harmony there, versus right now it just kind of seems like we're like, oh, we found out this cool thing, let's exploit the shit out of it until it can no longer be exploited.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about what Chris was talking about his the way he learns, which is very helpful because I think it is true for me as well, like having to know why. And it seems to me that there's a goal to get rid of people like us, because the people like us, we ask why, and if it's not moral, if the answer is not moral, then we're not probably going to do it, where what they really want is people to just follow orders. They don't want people to ask why. And so
Yeah,
they
exactly. Because
artists tend to ask why. It's just a way that people's brains work, that we ask why, and they don't want that. They don't want
no,
artists. They don't want
they
people
definitely don't want that. Because when you ask questions and find answers, guess what? That's called the discovery process, not blindly believing something, through perception. Oh, I perceive this news outlet as being credible, so now I'm going to believe everything they say. No, that's not how it works. You still have to question things, Like the news says it's going to be 90 degrees outside, but I'm looking out my window and it's raining, and definitely doesn't look like it's 90 degrees outside. Am I going to believe what I see out my window, or am I going to believe the news?
And I will testify to the fact that can be difficult, because I've literally experienced that and wanted to believe my phone because it says something that is not my experience. And I've had to say, nope.
It says evergreen, rainy, or it says evergreen, clear skies and 80 degrees. When I look at my phone or I look outside and it's actually rainy, and the manual thermometer sitting out there is reading 50 degrees. So
Yeah, it's pretty weird. But I mean, that's the mind control. Like, you want your mind, I think, human nature, or else our dumbed down nature or whatever, wants to be with the group. The group think says it's this weather, but that's not my experience. So, am I going to choose my experience, or am I going to choose like what Big Brother's telling me to do?
right. And it's much better to write your own script than believe the script of other people,
Who may not have your best interest in heart.
Exactly.
Yep.
And they'll probably try to, lead you into one of these mental schisms of, either extreme determinism or extreme randomness.
Well, talk about that, what that means a little bit.
Well, determinism, it's like nothing happens on that, or, everything is pre-planned, everything's preordained. Even though I think I'm making a free will decision to stand up and go get a glass of water, it's really just, that's actually just what my preordained path in life is. Or everything's completely random, where all events are random, and the fact that the universe even exists is random, and the fact that humans popped up when they did, where we did, is completely random. And all this stuff, these are two opposites on the spectrum, whereas in reality, yes, there are deterministic things in this universe. Like, deterministically, there is a difference between a right action and a wrong action. And, like, for instance, gravity is deterministic, as far as if there's gravity present and you drop an object, it will fall at the deterministic rate of the gravity that you're experiencing. But humans, we actually do have free will, and it's that is kind of a random aspect. So there is random things that happen, but there's also deterministic things. Random thing would be like me deciding, I'm like, oh, well, I'm thirsty, right? So a free will decision might be, am I going to drink a glass of water, or am I going to drink a soda pop, or am I going to drink a alcoholic beverage like a beer or a cocktail? These are all free will decisions that I make after I determine that I'm thirsty, you know? And so, you know, a lot of like religions lean towards the more deterministic side of things, like God decides everything and we don't really have a choice in the matter. Whereas like the more atheist is kind of like everything is random and there is no order to anything, and it's a miracle that we accidentally popped up, you know, humanity accidentally popped up, you know, because everything is a roll of the dice. Trying to decide what color or colors I should use on the outside of this head thing.
Oh, for the outside?
Yeah. I was thinking like purple or yellow, or maybe both. I don't know. I won't overthink it. Randomness. The universe is a grand accident. There is no such thing as spiritual / moral law.
Oh yeah. No,
Existence has no purpose other than to exist. You know, these are all.
I know my brother, this is where my brother and I stopped talking, was at about this point, but
There is no creator, therefore there is no underlying intelligence in nature. You know, these are all hallmarks or scientism, atheism, and totalitarianism. And then on the other side of things, you know, that's kind of like the randomness side. The deterministic side is, you know, action is ultimately meaningless. Since God controls everything, change is impossible. Free will is an illusion and does not exist. All occurrences are preordained. God controls every event in creation. So you can see how one, it's like there is no God, everything is a grand accident. You know, the other one is God does everything and says all. He's the end all for all.
in either one, humans have no responsibility and can do whatever they want, right? Is that the end all of the both?
No.
Huh?
No, like that would probably be more on the randomness side, that humans can do whatever they want.
Oh,
Right.
humans can't do whatever they want because God controls everything. Ah, yes, we're automatons for God, right?
Right. So the balance thing would be like, yeah, there's some deterministic things in you know, laws in our reality, but we also have free will. You know, there's a deterministic right and wrong, right? But so that being said, we can make a free will decision to do either a right or a wrong. You know, it's like if I decide I'm going to push someone or punch someone or give someone a hug, you know, that is my free will decision, you know. And maybe I base what my action is based off of previous encounters with this person, you know. Maybe this person has been violent to me or something like that in the previous encounter. And so that might affect how I interact with that person in the future. I might be, if I know this person has violent tendencies, I might, have a little more, be aware that I might have to exercise self-defense around this person. So, but you can ultimately we have free will and we can make decisions. But that's, the fact that we can do that is scary to people. And that's why they want control over people's free will, because it's like, oh, it's that fear ego attachment. Like, people have free will and they might choose to do the bad thing instead of the good thing. And so now I want to have some sort of authority that tells you what the good things and the bad things are, so that, or like an authority that you can get help from if you feel like someone's infringing on your well-being. Which is actually your responsibility to defend your own well-being. You can't actually, in nature, you can't actually delegate that to anyone else.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, what about people who aren't capable of, like, who have a disability or something and they can't protect themselves?
It kind of depends on the situation, I guess. Someone who has a disability, like you're talking about, part of their self-defense might just be staying in areas that aren't necessarily going to have these harmful situations pop up, like staying with close friends and family. If you have a disability that's, hinders you from really exercising self-defense, then you might want to stay with friends or family, or you might not. Or if you're going to leave the house, you might want to have someone with you that is, that can help you kind of navigate the world. And in that sense, that person is kind of helping them defend themselves, but at the same time, it's like, they have to have the self-responsibility to know that they need to have someone with them if they're going to go out in public. And I think when you this notion just popped up into my head too, is like, when you have a disability, are you fully sentient? It might kind of depend on your disability,
Really?
Maybe, I don't know. Because sentience, I guess you'd have to, what's the definition of sentience? And I guess, in certain situations, yeah, I could see where someone else might be able to protect someone else. But
I mean, are you saying that,
especially someone that has a disability, but in not other situations that,
I mean, are you saying like people who get older who can't fully protect themselves because they're older are not fully sentient then?
No, I'm not saying that. It just popped in my head that maybe a disability could affect your level of sentience.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, these are just questions, you know, these are just ideas
Yeah.
discussed. I mean, I was just thinking about it. Like, I mean, yeah, I would have to go through extreme amount of training to learn how to protect myself at this point. I might have to do that. I don't know, but
Depends on what you need to protect yourself from too. I mean, like, so far in your life you've had enough to protect yourself from most of the, you're still alive, right?
right. No, I know. It's just well, I guess for me, and I'll just be candid about this. I use prayer for everything. So, and I've had supernatural experiences when I had someone about to attack me. Um, I prayed and the person disappeared into thin air. So, um, and I think that what that was I just moved into another dimension that they weren't in. And so I had that choice at that moment to say, did that happen? You know, and I've chosen to believe that it happened. So, I mean, for some of these things, like, um, to me, like natural law gets fulfilled by the spiritual law. Like the spirit can fulfill the natural law at times. There's ways to, um,
Well, maybe that's the answer for these people with disabilities. Maybe they need to pray more, and that'll help ensure that um, they don't find themselves into a situation where they need to exercise self-defense because they already exercise their self-defense in prayer.
yeah, I guess that may be the case. I mean, that's pretty radical, though. You know, I mean, but that is kind of where we're at. I feel like at this point we're in this weird state. I've noticed recently where people are really needing to find that other uh, unseen assistance.
Right.
I think we're in that we're there now, and I'm seeing people find sort of substitutes for it right now, and
Mhm.
that could be an astrological phenomenon that is going on right this second. But to really find a true uh, assistance that hasn't been utilized by everybody lately, or you know, because we've gotten so far away from that. And but like for me, take me for example, I'll take myself. Like I'm so hot-headed, and I wasn't raised with guns. I'm so hot-headed and quick to act. It's probably better. I mean, I do have access to that type of solution, but it would be better for me if I didn't probably have that as an answer because I'm so hot-headed. You know what I mean? So I generally would plan on using prayer in a situation like that.
Well, and I
And
think that's why a lot of the governmental agencies, they don't want people to have firearms either because they're like, oh, well, you don't have the training or you're too hot-headed. Part of the training to have a firearm would be actually to help control those anger, outbursts that might cause you to use that weapon when you shouldn't use it. You know what I mean? And having that mindfulness in the moment to catch yourself, before you get mad enough that you actually pull that weapon out, is key. And I think that, maybe you're not trusting yourself enough, because I think that, there's one thing that if you get upset, you start screaming and yelling and stuff and or whatever. But then like to actually pull out a firearm and shoot someone, I think that it's going to be a lot harder to do that, or you're going to have a better grasp on controlling yourself from doing that than you are from maybe just like getting upset and screaming some profanities at someone. That's almost like the step, you're probably going to have like several more steps of escalation before you're pulling out the firearm, because I have my reservation of having firearms as well, for that same reason that you do.
Right. Well, I just know that, there was a time when I lived across the hall from some Vietnamese mafia people who were running crystal methamphetamines out of their apartment across from mine. And there was constantly really fucked up weirdo people like draped upon the stairwell. And it pissed me off so much that I actually thought about this. I thought, well, it's a good thing I don't have any weapons right now, because I'm not really sure what I would do. And I'm not going to say that I'm a whole lot different than I was back then. But that doesn't mean that I'm not willing to learn. I'm at the point now where I may put myself in a position where I can learn and maybe be part of some kind of team or something like that. But I also don't want to be on a list.
Right.
So the whole reason I brought this up was because I use extra. I use spiritual means for a lot of things, and I just want to make that available, like, as an alternative, because some of these things I can't do myself. I'm just not. I'm not going to say I'm broken or anything. It's just like what Chris was talking about. Like, there's certain types of people that get more encouragement or whatever because of the way they learn or whatever. And then there's the other people, like the artist type people, who may get labeled as having a learning disability or whatever, and it's a struggle for them to live in this system.
Right.
And so I've figured out other ways to get around in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And but natural law, like the thing you're talking about of taking full care of yourself. Like, I guess I have, because I am still alive, right? But I don't have, like, if it was me and somebody on a dark street or something like that, I would probably pray and hope for the best, because I couldn't physically defend myself.
Well, sometimes you don't have to either. Sometimes all you need to do is be able to run.
Yeah, it's another thing. Like, I've just
that's actually one of the best forms of self-defense there is just run.
Yeah, well, right now, like, remember, my back's been out.
Yeah. Just getting away from the situation.
Yeah, that's another thing, though. I started to realize that I need to strengthen my body. I have to do I have a kind of responsibility to get to where I can walk a long ways or run or something.
It's kind of like defensive driving, if you can't run, there's situations that you're not even going to put yourself in, because you're not going to be able to run away from the shit that happens, or like, defensive driving. You drive in a way, like, for instance, you have, if you're going 60 miles an hour, you have 6 car lengths between you and the person in front of you, or you use the 3-second rule that, you watch them pass like the dotted line on the road, and you count 3 seconds until your car hits that dotted line, and you're like, okay, now I'm a safe distance behind that other vehicle, because if you're taking precautions like that, you're kind of anticipating a danger that isn't there before it is there. And so if you use techniques like that, you're less likely to have to run from something to begin with. Like you were just using the example of, if you were like in a dark alley or on a dark street, maybe walking home, and you saw like someone who could potentially be like a mugger who might potentially like mug you, right? Well, there are actually techniques for even deterring a person like that, which would be like a kind of a defensive technique. Like one of the ones I used to use when I lived in New York City, because there's a couple times where I had a situation where a lurky individual started following me. And one thing that you can do is start talking to yourself, because if the person that you think is a lurker or who might potentially harm you, if they think you're crazier than they are, they're not going to attack you. Seriously. If they think you are crazier than they are, they will not attack you. And there's the other thing that this was a technique someone said that could be used, is like, you have your wallet, maybe you have $60, $70 in your wallet, right? Well, what if you have like a roll of like, maybe $2-3 in your pocket, or maybe even in a different pocket than your wallet's in. And so if like a mugger, comes up to you and is like, stop, give me all your money, and you reach in your pocket, so I'm sorry, this is all you have. You just throw them the $3, and then they see that it's a distraction. They're like, ooh, he's giving me his money. They go pick up the money. Now you're halfway down the block and around the corner or whatever, and closer to safety than you were before. And then they're like, oh man, he only had $3, and they might accept that and be like, all right, well, at least I got the money out of the guy and I scared him, but you still have your $60, $70 in your wallet because you had that distraction ploy that you could pull, by throwing down the $3 bills to distract them while you can get away. That's another technique that could be used in a dark alley situation or a dark, block,
Yeah, I like that.
And there's sometimes you won't have time to do any of those, if it's dark enough and they're sneaky enough and they just pop out, that's when you have to do, use the good old elbow to the gut or the knee to the balls or whatever it is, kind of thing.
What?
Huh?
What'd you say?
Sometimes you have to use the old elbow to the gut or the knee to the balls kind of situation, or the poke to the eye, whatever. Sometimes you got to fight dirty if you're caught off guard, or someone's bigger than you. And so martial arts, that's a great thing about martial arts, is if you learn martial arts, that's a great first, and second step of self-defense, before you have to, because there's levels of self-defense too. You can't just pull a gun and shoot someone immediately. It's like, you have to know, you can't, it's like, if you use a higher level of self-defense than necessary, you're actually committing a wrong. Like if someone is just kind of being annoying and jammering in your ear and you shoot them dead, that's not the proper use of self-defense. Like if they're being annoying and yammering in your ear, maybe just asking them, saying, hey, can you please stop being annoying and yammering in my ear? That might be the first step of self-defense in that situation, you know. Or it's kind of like if someone pushes you, maybe just pushing them back is a proper means of self-defense, not, you know, someone pushes you and then you just shoot them, you know.
Oh, right.
It's like there's levels, there's, you know, yeah, I don't know.
No, that makes sense.
There's a balance there too, you know, just like everything else. Everything's all about balance. You know.
No, you're right. That makes sense.
But yeah, whoa, time flies. Look at that. It's 7:56.
Yep. I'm looking at the next thing I'm gonna
Look,
do.
laying out your next one. What you got there?
Well, I got this one. This
Is that-
one. This
Which
one.
one is that?
This one is. I have to look at my map. This is the one that says I have the inalienable right to destroy my government if it gets to be encroach on my rights.
Oh,
That's
nice.
that one. And then I have the other one that I need to. This one is. Which one is this one? Oh, my right to assembly and free speech. That's this one.
Nice.
I have like 4 more to do, I think.
Yeah, maybe if you have time, or you may already have these two, to take some pictures of all those so far, and then I can put them on the website as, you know, art we've been doing.
Oh, the ones I've done?
Yeah, the ones that are done-ish or done enough that you can put them.
Oh, yeah,
share 'em.
I have them. They're all posted on Peaked. So I could just send you the links to that, or I could just drag the pictures down for you.
Yeah, or just something so we could have them on our website, you know.
Yeah, I have been keeping track of the whole process. I have like.
Because Chris had a good point that we should maybe, or I guess maybe we could just put them all on a Discord server, and then, no, it'd be good to have them on the website, you know, don't you think?
I do think it would be good to have them on the website, and I also think it would be good to have, in place of that, us painting the flowers thing. I think we should have some video.
Of like a different video that's not
this.
us painting the flower.
Yeah, because that's
Like-
that sweet spot. That's that really important spot on the website. You know.
Right. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we could discuss what kind of video we want to put there, or maybe no video.
Well, I mean, I think it could be this thing that we're doing right now. I mean, it could change.
Well, that video that is on the header, it's I can only use like a certain size video there. And so it'd have to be, we could use something from this, but we'd have to be like something that we clip out and put in there.
Okay.
Or there might be a way you can link it to like another video online to, like one of these YouTube videos. I can look into that for sure.
Sounds good. Yeah,
So-
I mean, I feel like we're just doing this right now, and it's good. I mean, I feel fine with what we're doing right now, and we just keep doing it, and then we'll be
Yeah.
the next thing whenever.
No, it's good. It's good. I think next. So this week we talked about the mental schisms and the worldview schisms. Next week we're going to move into discussing what is human nature. You know, are we inherently good or are we inherently bad? Or are we inherently something else? I
Something-
propose we're inherently something else. Find out next week what that is.
Sounds good.
So yeah, I guess I'm gonna stop this live. Or do you have any closing words for the week?
I think that's about good.
The other closing words that I should add is that we are, as of next week, we are starting the Tuesday night, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Just so if you're watching this, you know that if you want to be a part of this, it's going to be on Tuesday nights now. Same time, same place. You can either view this on YouTube, or if you'd like to join the conversation, please go to drawingnaturein.com and click on our free consultation. In that consultation, you'll learn things like how you can set up an easel to broadcast your art making, whether you're interested in learning some of the fundamentals of art so you have the confidence to be a part of our art salon here, or if you're already kind of more of a versed artist and you want to just join the conversation, then we can get you the link for that during that consultation. So appreciate you joining us, and we will see you next week on Tuesday.
Sounds good. Hasta la vida.
Oh, that was that. Seems so